Hi class, welcome to our weekly chat. Let's talk about what happened last week and where we're going to go from here. So first off, thank you for turning in your methods section last night. I have reviewed a couple of them and I should get you feedback on the rest of them, I'm hoping within the next 24 hours. So I have noticed a couple of things with those method sections, and the main thing is some of them seem almost incomplete. There are major portions that are missing from the methods section. If you are one of the groups that has that issue, your feedback will reflect that. You will know what is missing. But just remember, the methods section needs to first include the sampling frame, and that is, think of sampling frame as population. That is the entire group that you are interested in studying. And that sampling frame needs to include basic demographic information about that group. If it is Facebook users ages 18 through 30, you can find that information online. There's a massive amount of information on who is using social media. You need to include some basic information on that. If it is BYU Idaho students, the university has a website that has all of that statistical information, and you need to include that. It can be 1 to 2 sentences, as long as the 1 to 2 sentences are well crafted. Usually it's about a paragraph, half a paragraph, just so we know who you are picking from. And then you need to provide some justification as to why you chose that as your sampling frame. Once you fill out that sampling frame information, you need to move on to your sampling method. If you are using social media, you are using a convenience method. If you are using BYU Idaho students, you are using a simple random sample. But you need to explain how that sample was obtained. So social media, you probably post it to your social media profile, things like that. For BYU Idaho students, you'll request a sample as part of your IRB application. You need to say that. Assume that the reader doesn't know that that's how you're going to get those samples. And then you need to explain why you chose that sampling method. Both sampling methods are acceptable for this class. I understand how you did it, but the reason that you put that is so that you understand going forward how this process works and how to justify those types of decisions. So you need to say why you chose to do it that way. Then you need to talk about how you're actually going to contact those people. This is moving into that data collection phase. You need to say we're going to contact them via email, we're going to contact them via profile, whatever way. You need to provide information as to how that's done. So you've done the sampling frame, you've done the sampling method, and now you're going to move on to the instrumentation section. The survey is a really big deal in the methods section. The survey is how you collect all of the data for the project, and you need to explain about the survey. I understand that some of this information will come later as you fill in the gaps about the survey, but at this point you should have a pretty rough idea of what types of questions you're going to include in the survey. Do you prefer Likert scale questions? Are you going to have paragraph short answer questions? What are you doing? Is it all multiple choice? You should be able to provide some guidelines on that, even if you have to make adjustments to that once the survey is written, distributed, and we get to the end of the semester. Like I said last week, you should also have an idea of the themes that you want to include in that survey. You have your research questions, they are written, they are solidified. You kind of know the direction that you need to go. So in order to answer those research questions, what type of survey questions do you need? You don't need to know, I'm going to ask, question 1 is going to be this, question 2 is going to be this is exactly how I'm going to word it. But if you are, for example, asking about skin cancer, you need to say that there will be questions related to sunscreen use or tanning bed use, things like that. You know the themes at this point, and they need to be included in that. Okay. So instrumentation, sampling frame, sampling method, instrumentation. Then we move on into that data collection phase. You're going to talk about how you plan to collect the data. If you choose to use an online survey, you need to tell me which survey software you plan to use and why you have chosen to use an online survey. Typically, it's because it's inexpensive, it's easy to use, and the data is aggregated for you. It's pretty straightforward, but I need you to explain it so that I understand, so that I know you understand the justification behind it. I understand a lot of this project is just kind of rehashing what we've already talked about, but it's to help you practice so as you move forward into the public health field, you have some experience doing this. Even if, for example, your data collection method changes, you understand the level of justification you need to include. in a project like this, or a summary write-up that you would submit to an employer. And then the final section of this is the data analysis section. I know that you don't have your statistical plan in place, and that is totally fine, and that is where I expect you to be at this point in the semester. But you should have an idea of the themes that will need to be explored. You need to talk about, we plan to look at the correlation between this and this. We plan to see how this variable affects this. You should have that information based on your research questions. I understand this plan might change as data starts to come in, as those surveys are officially written, but you should have at least a rough idea of where you want to go with that right now. So the pieces of your method section: sampling frame, sampling method, instrumentation, data collection, data analysis. You need to have all 5 sections. If it helps you to have a little italicized heading in there, by all means, go for it. There are 5 sections to the method section. Talked about that before. The method section is about 1.5 pages. You are welcome to revise these method sections now, or you are welcome to start revising and then wait to fill in all the final details until the end of the semester. You will not turn in your method section a second time for a grade until it is part of the larger paper. However, as we get closer to the end and you start making those revisions, or you have any questions about this section, I am happy to answer them for you, so that when we get to the point where we're compiling that final paper, you feel that you're in a good place. Please let me know if you have any questions about that. Okay, so let's move forward. What we have due next week. The very first thing we have due is actually due on Saturday. I know it's a little confusing, Saturday deadline. Please make sure that you turn this in as soon as possible. You all even could turn it in today, so you don't have to worry about it for the weekend. But no, if you don't turn it in, it will significantly impact your grade for the remainder of the semester, and that would be sad because it's pretty fast and easy. What we have due is the mid-course peer evaluation. You evaluated me a couple weeks ago. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I can make some changes to better meet your needs, and now it's time to evaluate each other. You will submit an evaluation of each of your classmates. If you can provide me with a sentence or two about their actual performance, especially if there is an issue, I would greatly appreciate it. In addition to that score that you provide me, you'll be rating your classmates out of 100. I will put it into a spreadsheet, and your score is the average of the scores your classmates gave you. For example, if one team member gave you 100%, one gave you a 90, and the other gave you a 90, your score would be less than 100. If everyone gives you 100, your score will be 100. Just doing the average. This evaluation is not based on my view of your performance. It is based on your peers' view of your performance. The final peer evaluation is primarily based on your peers' view of your performance throughout the semester, with some additional adjustments from me if there tends to be an issue or if I have additional information. This mid-course peer evaluation is based solely on your teammates' view of you. If there is a problem that I need to be aware of, please make me aware of it before Saturday at 11 p.m. because I can help you before, but I cannot help you after. So please, 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 please fill out that mid-course peer evaluation as soon as possible. It is worth 30 points, which will significantly impact your grade now and impact your grade at the end of the semester. So if you don't do it, you get a 0. Please do it. Please do it. The next thing that we have due, and that is due on Saturday. I apologize. That is due on Saturday, this coming Saturday, June 8th. The next thing we have due is the survey, and that is due on Wednesday, June 12th. The survey is exciting. I love writing surveys. So think about surveys you've taken. What have people done in surveys that have irked you? Don't do that. Don't do what you feel is irksome. Remember that some of these questions are going to make people feel defensive, and we are potentially going to need to soften those. Remember that your surveys are focused primarily on perception, awareness, and opinion. Make sure those questions reflect that. For example, you might ask, in your opinion, or from your experience, or to your knowledge. Things like that will soften the questions and make people feel less defensive as you write them. Remember, it's important to give people a specific time frame. If you're asking, do you use sunscreen? Well, if you ask me, do I use sunscreen? I would say, well, yeah, I use sunscreen. But if you asked me, have you used sunscreen within the past 2 weeks when engaged in outdoor activities? My answer would be different, potentially. Give people a time frame. Know that in their head, they're probably going to create that time frame anyway. But you want to create that uniform time frame for all respondents. So make sure that you include that. Make sure that you reduce any embarrassment someone might feel if they were to answer your question. So if you were asking, for example, about fruit and vegetable consumption, probably wouldn't want to ask, do you think people should consume 5 servings of fruits and vegetables? And then ask, how many servings of fruits and vegetables did you consume today? Because if there's a difference in those answers, people are either going to, 1, feel embarrassed, or 2, lie. Just keep in mind that in surveys, people sometimes lie. You also need to include informed consent in your surveys. And what does that mean? It means in your survey, the very first line, if you're doing Google Forms or Qualtrics, it allows you to put in a block that doesn't include a question. You need to say something to effect, thank you for your participation in your survey. This survey is being used for Health Science 391 classroom purposes only. Information will not be distributed outside of the classroom. Your responses are completely anonymous. Thank you for your participation. That's basically what you need to say. You need to tell people they can stop the survey at any time, their results will remain anonymous, and what you plan to do with them. You plan to use them in Health Science 391, we will not use them outside the classroom. That is important to note as people are beginning the survey. Please write your survey questions and keep them in a Word document from this point, at this current point. You may put them in a Google Doc if you're feeling really adventurous, but do not, I feel like I need some flashing lights. Do not put them in Google Forms or Qualtrics at this point. The reason is we will probably be making revisions. And making those revisions in a Word document is significantly easier than making those revisions in Qualtrics. Putting your questions in Qualtrics or Google Forms will be pretty quick once you have the questions and the answer options solidified. It will not be very quick to go in and fix them. So this is a great time to sign up for a Qualtrics account if you don't have one. The instructions were sent out, I believe, last week in the class announcements, but you can also go to the BYU Idaho webpage and type in Qualtrics into the search bar. You have to go through the BYU Idaho webpage because the university has paid for a full license for all students. If you just go to regular Google and type in Qualtrics, you can sign up for a trial account, but you don't want a trial account because you can collect 10 responses, it limits the number of questions, and it significantly limits the amount of data analysis tools included in Qualtrics. Also, if you send out your survey via a Qualtrics trial account, we cannot fix it and put it in anything else. So if you decide to go the Qualtrics route, go to the BYU Idaho website or go to the link that was included in the previous week's announcements. Create an account using your BYU Idaho email address. There are directions in there. It walks you through very quickly. And if you go through the University Qualtrics account, you will have access to the full version. That is usually hundreds or thousands of dollars for someone to obtain a copy of, but you have it at your disposal. So please go through BYU Idaho for a Qualtrics account. If you choose to go the Google Forms route, you just need a Google address and you're good to go. And there's really only one version of Google Forms. There's non-professional versus a personal. So you're good to go on that. Finally, I will be in town June 19th through 21st. I will be in Rexburg. If you are one of the groups located in Rexburg or have group members located in Rexburg, please let me know. I am happy to meet with you and answer any and all questions that you may have. Yes, I will be in town. Your data, this is particularly important because your data analysis assignments are due on the 3rd of July. This is your results section from your paper. This means that by the 3rd of July, you would have sent your survey out and received your results. I am happy to meet with you if you're one of the Rexburg people, June 19th through 20th, to talk about it in person if you like. If you aren't one of the Rexburg people, I'm happy to set up a Zoom meeting, Google Hangouts, whatever you want, to talk about it. Most groups don't usually take me up on this offer, but I want to let you know it's an option, I'm happy to help you. However, if we do this, remember that you have to have a plan, and I will help you through that plan. I don't create your plan for you because it's your project. I already did mine. So I'm happy to help. Happy to help. Happy to help answer any questions you have. Need to meet in Rexburg. I will be there the 19th and 20th. So this is an exciting week. Writing surveys is exciting, and writing surveys is one of those skills that you probably will use beyond this class, whether you're answering surveys, even writing a survey for your Relief Society, calling, Elders Quorum calling, whatever. PTA, you will probably use these survey writing skills. So pay attention this week. Let me know if you have any questions. Final warning, I am leaving for the North Carolina mountains today. I don't know how cell phone reception is. I assume it's fine. It's not that far from my house. But if for some reason you send me an email and you do not get a response within 24 hours on the weekdays and 48 hours on the weekends, send me a follow-up email. There's a chance one of my kids or one of my nephews has stolen my phone and deleted your email. Please send it again. I want to make sure that I help you and answer your questions as soon as possible. Look for that feedback on the methods section. Good luck on your surveys. Make sure you fill out those mid-course peer evaluations as soon as humanly possible so you can receive points. Have a fantastic weekend, and let me know if I can do anything to help.